Tshenolo is a Tembisa native. I was born and raised in Tembisa. I'm the third born of 5 children. And I am a mother to 2 boys currently. And I have the honor and privilege of leading Community Advice Offices South Africa, which is called CAOSA. So CAOSA is the national coordinating body of community-based advice offices in the country. And the work that we do is premised around, firstly, the regulatory measures that are around community-based paralegals. Secondly, it's around, the sustainability and the resourcing of these very important institutions that are advancing justice at a local and community level. So looking back at our history, I would say that advice offices were very important in advancing and shadowing in and bringing in democracy into our spaces. But right now, the space that they occupy at a community level is actually protecting and advancing the principles of democracy. Constitutionalism and access to basic human rights is just something that a lot of our communities have not had access to or actually know what that feels or even looks like. And so advice offices become the entry points and the access points for people at a very local level to experience this democracy that we are so well renowned for and so celebrated for. So, the niche that advice officers have, especially community-based paralegals who are the practitioners that work in advice offices, is that they're able to translate complex legal principles and complex legal processes into a language that is relatable, into a language that is understandable. And they're also able to translate the legal process into something that is practicable and accessible, which is where, the disconnect usually comes from. What advice officers do, they enable people to have a space where if there's a legal problem, they have a space to go to. But more than that, advice officers also create a space for learning. They create a space for, doing broader social justice work around community-based monitoring, around ensuring that, state institutions at a local level know that there's an institution in the community that is working to hold them to account, which is so important in this age where we see, just a reckless abuse of state power. And so, to give power back to the people, you need to strengthen the institutions that are based in communities, the institutions that have direct access to individuals, so that people can know how do you challenge things that are actually having a detrimental effect on development, whether it's development of the home or whether it's development of society. Community advice officers are, have been known for their resilience. So as much as, an organization might lose funding, what usually happens is that because the service is still needed, the paralegal will go as far as moving their operations to either their home. We have some advice offices that are running in garages. We have some advice offices that are housed in churches because the church has made a space available for them to operate. Some advice offices are operating in traditional authority offices where, the traditional council has made a space for the paralegal to come and operate. And then in some instances, it's also a school where on certain days the paralegal will go to the school and have appointments and people would come there. And so what that means is that, you don't really have a space that is conducive for the work that these paralegals do. Currently what happens is that we still have, a couple of dedicated donor funding organizations in the country, including SJI, that are really working to highlight the investment value of community-based advice offices. And so what we are trying to do from our end is to say that, as much as there is this donor funding community, it's not sustainable because, strategies shift, focus areas shift. And then what usually happens with that is that means that, the competition for resources becomes tighter and tighter. And now, if you're an advice office and you're there with a paralegal that is volunteering their services and you're there, they've got a team that's also on a voluntary basis, it's not always possible that these organizations are able to, compete at that level for resources. So what we are trying to do as CAOSA is to, do the call for resource and sustainability of advice offices at a national level. Democracy is and should remain everybody's concern. And in your little corner as an individual, in your corner as a corporate, you have as much to lose as the woman who is abused. You have as much to lose as the employer or the employee who does not have access to reform and reprieve should they be finding themselves in a situation of disadvantage. And so healing generally is also a huge part of what justice actually brings. And so an investment into that is an investment not only into justice, it's an investment into healing, it's an investment into ensuring that this democracy actually grows and doesn't disintegrate.